Let's begin with security matters. The Defense Headquarters has blamed foreign herders for a majority of the recent violent attacks on farming communities in Plateau, Benue, and several other states. Director of Defense Media Operations, Major General Marcus Kangye, said many of the assailants are identified as non-Nigerians based on their language and physical appearance. He noted that differences in Hausa dialects and distinctive features such as hair texture often reveal their foreign origins, while acknowledging that some Nigerian herders are involved in farmer-herder clashes. Kangye stressed that most attacks are being carried out by foreigners who enter the country through porous borders. The DHQ has called for tighter border security and stronger interagency collaboration to curb the growing threat posed by these infiltrators. To discuss this, we are joined by a security analyst and the executive director, Elixir Trust Foundation, Emmanuel Ikule. Emmanuel, thank you so much for coming around to talk about this on the news.
Thank you for having me.
Now, foreign herders, foreign sponsors, we know the story already. Does that change the narrative or overwhelm the Nigerian military's capacity to deal with the threats?
I don't think it overwhelms the military. From my own side, I'm just looking at the aspect of the capacity and the willingness to actually do something about it. And if the military at this time, they are claiming that people are coming from elsewhere to come and cause problem within the country, and it's also their work to actually fight against terrorism and fight against external invasion, then it means indirectly he's saying that they are failing to do what is expected of them. And to come in and start claiming that certain persons are coming from outside and they are speaking certain dialect, if they are speaking all this dialect, what's stopping you from arresting them at the same time? And if you're also looking at the other, from also his comments of saying certain persons from Borno are like Showa Arabs and the rest, you start also looking at, is it possible that we have other persons from other countries living here and our same persons, they are no longer Nigerians? And if they are no longer Nigerians, also bringing up different ideas. Is it possible these persons that are not Nigerians are also voting people into elections? Because you start thinking about divergent or different things happening or different crimes happening at the same time. So the first thing is they should reduce these media interviews and try to do the actual work in the field. These talks are not fixing anything, and if they are existing and they have physical presence in all the 36 states and still cannot fend or have not been able to address these concerns in these places that have been consistent, despite the different support they have gotten from the federal government, that means they are failing. And for me, they should be given ultimatum, maybe 1 week, 1 month, 3 months to fix this. And if they cannot fix it, they should be replaced and new person should come on board. Enough of the media talks and all that. It's not changing anything.
Well, you're security experts, whether they're Nigerians or non-Nigerians, what we understand is that they come through the borders and are supplied weapons and they pay for it. Why can't the culprits be traced via the routes and the money to have them apprehended and dealt with?
When you are looking at, in addressing some of these concerns, you'll certainly be looking at synergy between the military and certain security agencies like the EFCC. The EFCC have been doing a lot of arrests, and sometimes you're imagining the idea behind this type of arrest. But meanwhile, if there are funds coming in to support these criminals that have found their way into the country, I think EFCC should flag that up. Certainly, if the monies are coming through the banks, then it means also the bank should flag this to EFCC, and EFCC by extension should flag it to these persons, and at the point where they are trying to have access to these monies, they can be arrested. But just like I said earlier, you keep hearing issues, but you are not looking at anybody being prosecuted for these crimes that are being committed daily. And you are also looking at even the capacity of the military to even rehabilitate criminals. have we punished people for murdering people? These are capital offenses. Does the military now have the capacity to decide the fate of crime? Is there not the responsibility of courts? Why are they deciding who should be punished, who should be handed over, and who the courts should decide in addressing their cases? So these are the divergent crimes being committed, and not just by citizens, but even by the military themselves. And as I said earlier, if you are looking at the press conferences they keep having up and down, at the same time you are looking at the deaths of citizens being caused as a result of their failure to even man their own equipment like drones. So criminals are killing people and you are having military kill people at the same time. So you are not seeing the solutions there. Recently, there are still videos of people being kidnapped. So for me, there is need for an internal audit, except the federal government is saying they are no longer interested or they are scared of the military doing the right thing. There should be audits.
Emmanuel, you talked about the need for the government to look into punishment. We've heard of the Nigerian military talk about kinetic and non-kinetic approaches. Now, whether they're bandits, herdsmen, terrorists, whatever, as the de-radicalization program of these criminals by the Nigerian military in real terms, based on your own assessment, yielded any results?
It has never yielded any result. As I said earlier, you'll be looking at first the capacity of the military to actually carry out this rehabilitation in the first place. Do they have the capacity? And have their behavior so far in relating with citizens shown that they have the capacity? 2 days back, a military officer in Benue State gave a vendor working close to the barracks a beating of her life because he requested for her money to be paid for the food the young man ate. So if you are looking at this, the different things happening, then you are looking first of all at the capacity. The capacity is not really there, and this is something that we should pay attention to. At the same time, it's not out of place for them to actually partner with competent hands to be able to address these concerns. But they are also, you hardly also see those type of partnership over time. So for me, there should be an internal audit to look at the capacity of the military in handling these things first, and also not try to take the place of the judiciary in deciding what is the punishment for these crimes committed by criminals in the country.
All right. Emmanuel Ikule, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. In a related development, the Delta State House of Assembly held a public hearing on a bill seeking to amend the State Community Security Corps Agency law. The hearing was organized by the Joint Committees on Special Bills and Peace and Security at the State House of Assembly complex in Asaba. In attendance were key stakeholders, including representatives from the Delta State Command of the Nigeria Police Force, the Department of State Services, the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, the Ministry of Justice, and the state chapter of the Association of Local Governments of Nigeria. Others present included the Delta State Security Trust Fund, the State Council of Traditional Rulers, the Directorate of Political and Security Matters, the Nigerian Bar Association, the Nigeria Union of Journalists, as well as representatives from both public and private sectors.
Bill seeks to amend the old bill that we had, and by the time it is assented to, we hope that it will be activated to check the insecurity situation in Delta State. We have deemed it expedient to invite the public to send in memoranda on their thoughts, their contributions towards this bill, so that by the time we pass it, it will be for the general.
We now tell you that 5 suspects allegedly responsible for the abduction and killing of 8-year-old Sakina Mamuda in Borzo area of Kano State have been arrested by the Department of State Services. While parading the suspects at the Government House in Kano, the State Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, Haruna Dederi, said the suspects kidnapped Sakina at her home in Duhun Baki village, requested for ransom from her parents, but later killed her, dumping her corpse in an abandoned open well.
Of the Department of Security Service successfully busted a syndicate of kidnappers who few days back had kidnapped an 8-year-old girl named Sakina Mamuda at Duhun Baki village of Gwarzo local government area. They demanded ransom and still murdered the little girl and dumped her corpse into an abandoned old open well. The Kano command of DSS not only recovered the decomposing corpse of the little girl, but also successfully arrested all the 5 members of the syndicate group. The 5 suspects you are seeing sitting there, namely Zailani Rabiu, who is just of 23 years old, Hafiz Yusuf Muhammad, of 25 years old, Abubakar Abdul Karim, popularly known as Danyalo, 25 years, Umar Lawan Abdullahi, of 43 years, and number 5, Ahmadu Salisu Ahmadi, of 50 years, all of the same village, Duhun Baki, Gwarzo local government area, are those who jointly conspired, kidnapped, and murdered the little girl. While commending the efforts of the Kano command of the DSS, the Kano State government specially commiserates with the family of the victim.
Kudi abinda suka bukata suka ce ba da miliyan 50 daga nan suka dawo suka ce ai gaga ko da miliyan 8 ne a basu a ƙarshe nawa kuka tsaya to a ƙarshe daga nan muka kai rahoto gon ma'aikata suka ji a bakin su daga nan suka ce mu basu da su an nemi 200 ne kacal ba su ba mu kudin ba.
To me yasa kuka kashe ta?
Sakamakon an nemi waɗannan kuɗi ba a samu ba, ɗan yare ya murɗe mata wuya ta mutu.
Away from that, the Federal High Court in Abuja has adjourned the trial of former Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello to June 26. Justice Emeka Mbite issued the adjournment after heated arguments between the prosecution and defense teams over the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission's request to cross-examine its own witness. The dispute followed the conclusion of cross-examination by the defense of the third prosecution witness, Nicholas Ojohomo, an internal auditor of the American International School in Abuja. EFCC counsel and senior advocate of Nigeria, Olukayode Eniton, sought to cross-examine the witness on the content of a Federal Capital Territory High Court judgment contained in a document already admitted in evidence. However, defense counsel and senior advocate of Nigeria, Joseph Dauda, objected, citing the Evidence Act and arguing that the prosecution cannot cross-examine its own witness without first declaring him hostile. We take a break now on the news. When we return, Lagos State issues traffic advisory ahead of Saturday's APC primaries for local council elections in the state. We'll tell you more stories of this and bring you all the details in a short while. Join us again. Many thanks for being there. Let's talk politics now. The Independent National Electoral Commission says it has not taken a decision on the leadership crisis in the People's Democratic Party and the Labour Party. In a statement signed by its Chief Press Secretary, Rotimi Oyekomi, the INEC chairman denied reports that the commission had recognized Labour Party's embattled national chairman, Julius Abure, as well as Senator Samuel Anyanwu as the national secretary of the PDP. The statement said the reports were false and misleading. It added that the names of the national officers of the Labour Party had previously been uploaded to INEC website following a court order and not related in any way to the latest judgments of the Supreme Court. In the meantime, the Lagos State government has issued a traffic advisory ahead of Saturday's All Progressives Congress primaries for local council elections in the state. Commissioner for Transportation Oluwaseun Oshiyemi announced that motorists will not be able to access Acme Road from the Adeniji Jones, Latif Jakonde and Acme Crescent routes during the primaries. He urged the public to plan their movements in advance to avoid inconvenience. In the meantime, preparations are in full swing for the APC chairmanship and councillorship primaries scheduled for May 10 in Lagos State. The party has convened a high-level meeting involving key leaders, aspirants and stakeholders to finalize arrangements for selecting candidates to represent the APC in the upcoming July 12 local government elections. Let's go to the southeast, where President Bola Tinubu has pledged to address long-standing development challenges in Anambra State and the wider southeast region. These include severe erosion, the underutilization of gas reserves, and the exclusion of Anambra from the National Rail Master Plan. Speaking at a civic reception held at Alex Ekweme Square during his state visit, President Tinubu reaffirmed the federal government's commitment to enhancing road infrastructure and promoting inclusive development to strengthen national unity. He also announced federal backing for ecological investments to combat erosion and promised to review Anambra's omission from the National Gas Master Plan. Meanwhile, Anambra State Governor Professor Chukwuma Soludo pledged his full support for the president, along with that of his party, the All Progressives Grand Alliance.
Southeast have huge gas deposit. That is true, but largely bypassed by the National Gas Master Plan. I assure you that will be rectified. Abandoned federal road projects that link Anambra to Kogi, it can become the fastest gateway between Abuja and Anambra South and South-South. I agree. Anambra completely bypassed by the Rail Master Plan. I'm standing before you that this already designed, a Ministry of Transportation is aware to include the connection in the master plan, and it will see attention.
What you commissioned today, Mr. President, are mere symbolisms of the audacity of our dreams for a new Anambra State. Like the Americans would say, and as we repeatedly affirmed on the Anambra, you ain't seen nothing yet. Fellow Nigerians, beyond Anambra State, Nigeria must survive and prosper. For the sake of Nigeria and future generations, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu must succeed. And we are prepared to support him in every possible way, not only to succeed, but to excel.
Away from politics, following the onset of the rainy season, residents of Gayawa Yan Masara in Ugongo local government area of Kano State have called on the state government and well-meaning residents of the state to help tame the menace of gully erosion, which they say has led to the death of many members of their community. They say that the gully erosion are visible in their communities, affecting residents, and there are palpable fear with which will actually worsen the commencement of the rains. News Central's Emmanuel Bagudu reports.
A difficult situation, one that can better be imagined. Gayawa and Masara community have endured the negative impact of this gully erosion for years, but it's clearly getting worse. The community members claim that this major road, which leads to Minjibir local government area, has been taken over by erosion and has caused several fatalities amongst residents. Erosion has wiped out this place. The elderly cannot walk on this road. Children keep falling off when it rains. Pass here, you have to wait for hours before it pass.
Saboda muna da mata masu ciki suna fama gurin fita wata ma anan cikin nata zai bare.
We have pregnant women, some have lost their pregnancy here. 6 persons have lost their lives on this road. We are begging for authorities to intervene.
Neman alfarma idan aka ce dole ba za su ba to an hada da Allah su taimaka su zo su.
With the commencement of the rainy season, residents have also expressed worry that the erosion will promote the spread of malaria because it provides a breeding ground for mosquitoes.
Ba na iya zama a nan gurin hira safa kafata. Billahi da in dai magariba ta yi saboda jarabaci da tsoro a wurin nan.
I cannot sit here without covering my legs due to mosquitoes. Very huge mosquitoes disturbing our wives and making our children very sick.
Akwai wacce ma ta wajen haihuwa ta anan ta faɗi ta mutu. Akwai wanda ta hauro nan gurin ta faɗi a sumi a can gurin ta ita ma. Akwai abubuwan da suka faru kala-kala wanda in aka zauna faɗar su gaskiya abin yayi yawa. Babu wanda zai zo wucewa gaskiya fi sabillahi wajen nan bai magana ba. Nishi ne kala da kala muna shan shi in za mu wuce.
They accuse politicians in the area of using the unfortunate situation to take advantage of their community.
Jami'an siyasa a koda shi mutane su zo su ta mana kariyar cewar za mana aiki za mana aiki.
Politicians keep coming here to lie to us, saying they are going to fix the road. Some will come pretending to be crying as if begging God for forgiveness, but will end up doing nothing. This road has been like this for years. We are tired. No politicians will lie to us on this road again. Some of them are calling for quick action, saying the erosion poses a major threat to their lives. In Ngogo local government area of Kano State, Emmanuel Bagudu.
We talk education now. The United Nations Children Fund has confirmed it will no longer be able to provide critical educational funding and supplies due to severe funding shortages. The announcements came during a high-level gathering in Maiduguri to mark the launch of the second phase of the multi-year resilience program under the Education Cannot Wait program aimed at boosting education resilience in Borno, Yobe and Adamawa states. News Central's Morikirawa completes the report.
Out-of-school children remains a challenge in conflict-affected communities in Nigeria's northeast. UNICEF and officials from the Borno, Yobe and Adamawa state governments gathered in Maiduguri to launch a $15 million second phase of the multi-year resilience program. Education cannot wait.
I know that ECW will not have the funds to give more money for the multi-year resilience programs. This is it. No more funds after this. And I think you know, I was talking with the Honourable Commissioner earlier. The global development sector is changing rapidly. UNICEF has to cut our staff globally by 20% by the end of June. And I've been challenging my staff here in Maiduguri to really work with the 3 states to ask what are the sustainable efforts that we can best support you with.
One decision from one person has changed everything. So if we are going to change, or we're going to adjust the work plan, we must understand the realities of the moment and also see where it is very important to fit into our gaps.
UNICEF, in collaboration with the state governments and consortium partners, will implement this 3-year project from 2025 to 2027 towards expanding access to formal and non-formal education services for over 500,000 conflict-affected children.
We cannot keep giving supplies. We cannot keep giving mainstreaming kits. We cannot keep giving dignity kits because we don't have the money.
If we have availability of water in the community, the people will not be trekking long distance to go and fetch water. If we have improved small businesses for the parents to get engaged, the people cannot be hawking on the street. They will have time to attend schools. So these are things that the government has to, they are small things, but they are very, very key.
Good governance through the provision of basic amenities like water, books, uniforms, toilets in schools, among others, are said to be key by the academic dawn to tackle the issue of out-of-school children. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umar Kirawa.
Providing uninterrupted power supply has been the bane of successive administrations in Nigeria. And while many Nigerians have adopted alternative source of power for their electricity, the majority of the populace still relies on the country's national grid. However, there are concerns that the federal government once again plans to raise electricity tariff hikes against the epileptic power supply in most parts of the country. News Central's Idalani Yomoni has more in this report.
So it has not been easy for us to cope. It's getting to a point whereby people will fix their lights in the night, remove it in the morning, because they are trying to cut costs.
Nigeria's power supply is generated from various sources, with natural gas accounting for over 70% of electricity generation. However, the country's power sector has been plagued by inefficiencies. The recent 300% tariff increase for Band A customers, who now pay 206.80 naira per kilowatt hour, up from 68 naira per kilowatt hour previously, has already led to widespread criticism. If there is another increase, as rumors have it, it could further strain household budgets and business operations.
The current rates is not even convenient, and then electricity is not even consistent, so we still use the regular generators and all that to operate our businesses. And since the increase in fuel and now the new increase in electricity is definitely going to affect we producers and therefore also affect the consumers.
On its part, the federal government plans to implement an integrated national policy on electricity.
This basically addresses critical challenges in Nigeria's electricity sector through comprehensive framework for sector transformation, for clear guidelines for sustainable power generation, transmission, and distribution, as well as integration of renewable energy sources.
As the government navigates the complex issue of power sector reform, the National Association of Nigerian Students has accused the Minister of Power for failing to address deeper structural problems in the electricity sector, such as poor service delivery by distribution companies, estimated billing, and widespread disregard for electricity supply agreement on the bands C and D.
We have had enough of increases in the price of the bandwidth, and we don't want any further increase. Even with the way they have increased the bandwidth, we have not seen a symbolic difference in the services they render to Nigeria.
You cannot sustain it in the face of the law, and that is number one. They should squash it. Number two, we are asking that everybody that has been charged as a result of that illegality should be refunded, and we are also asking for perpetual injunction against NEC, never to do that again.
In the meantime, Nigerians are beginning to gradually switch to solar energy, but it is expensive. While the future of Nigeria's power sector hangs in the balance, stakeholders say finding a balance between economic sustainability and citizens' welfare will be crucial to bring relief to Nigerians. In Lagos for News Central, Igbalani Omani.
Away from that, there are growing concerns over the health impact of junk food on Nigerians. A new media presentation titled Junk in Our Plates, released by the Corporate Accountability and Public Participation Africa, CAPA, has shed light on the alarming dangers posed by the rising consumption of ultra-processed foods in the country. News Central's correspondent Betty Naimeli reports.
The presentation exposes how sugary beverages, salty snacks, and processed meals, often loaded with trans fats and artificial additives, are contributing to the rise in non-communicable diseases such as obesity, diabetes, heart disease, and even cancer.
Junk on Our Plates documents how both multinational and local companies continue to leverage false narratives, misleading labels, lack of appropriate regulation, and aggressive marketing to push on healthy foods and drinks.
Experts warn that aggressive marketing by multinational food corporations, especially targeting young people and low-income communities, is making matters worse. Hence the call for stricter regulations on junk food advertising, clearer food labeling, and stronger public health campaigns to educate Nigerians on better dietary choices.
We know that there's an increasing connection between what we eat and how our body reacts to these things. What we found out in recent times, and even with the course of our research, is that the market for food in the country is saturated with unhealthy diets. When I say unhealthy diets, I mean prepackaged foods loaded with salt, sugar, and trans fat excessively.
Those at the helm of power are urged to prioritize local nutritious food alternatives and support policies that limit the availability of harmful processed foods, especially in schools and public institutions.
The front of pack labeling and the SSB tax needs to be increased from 10 naira to 130 naira. This tax, the SSB tax, is a pro-head tax, and we take cognizance of the fact that this tax should also, when increased, be earmarked for control of non-communicable diseases. We have a 30% prevalence rate in non-communicable diseases in Nigeria. Obesity is on the rise, hypertension is on the rise, we have people slumming daily. And if this tax is earmarked after increase to 130 naira, it can now be properly channeled through the Ministry of Health or whatever regulatory agencies.
There is need for food justice and corporate accountability in Nigeria's food system. When it comes to our health and future, junk should stay off our plates. In Lagos, for News Central, Bettina Nwili.
Now, rescue teams in Morocco are racing against time to locate victims after a multi-story residential building collapsed in Fez, leaving at least 9 people dead and 7 others injured. The incident occurred overnight between Thursday and Friday, sending shockwaves through Fez and across the country. Local authorities reported that civil protection teams and emergency responders arrived at the scene promptly after receiving distress calls. Officials confirmed that the building had previously been identified as structurally unsafe and was under evacuation orders at the time. Search efforts ongoing as crews comb through the rubble to ensure no one remains trapped or unaccounted for. Outside of Africa, we tell you that Pope Leo XIV presided over his first Mass as the 267th Pope on Friday at the Sistine Chapel, marking the beginning of his papacy. The service included readings in multiple languages, notably a passage from the first epistle of St. Peter in Spanish, reflecting his ties to Peru. The choir opened with an antiphon from Psalm 46. Leo XIV is the first American-born pope, surprising the global community in Vatican alike. In his initial address, he called for peace, dialogue, and a missionary church that builds bridges. The Mass was attended by cardinals and broadcast live, symbolizing a new chapter for the Catholic Church amid global challenges. Meanwhile, world leaders have warmly congratulated Pope Leo XIV on his election, urging him to champion peace in an increasingly conflict-ridden world. President Bola Tinubu extended his congratulations, expressing confidence that the election of Pope Leo XIV marks a new chapter for the Roman Catholic Church, one that reinforces its enduring values of love, humanity, and compassion for the underprivileged. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa said the Pope's early emphasis on peace resonates with the hopes of much of humanity and honors the legacy of the late Pope Francis. In his congratulatory message, U.S. President Donald Trump said it was an honor to see the first American elected to the papacy, adding that he looks forward to meeting Pope Leo XIV. On his part, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky expressed hope that the new Pope would use his influence to promote peace amid ongoing war with Russia, while his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin voiced optimism for improved relations. In the same vein, China extended formal congratulations to Pope Leo XIV following his election as the new head of the Catholic Church, signaling an interest in furthering diplomatic engagement with the Vatican. Officials in Beijing expressed optimism that communication on shared international priorities would continue under the new pontiff's leadership. For more on this, I'm joined by our international correspondent, Afia Hagen. Afia, it's nice to have you around. What can you tell us about the Pope's historic First Mass?
Well, the first Mass that he presided over in the Sistine Chapel, he started in English. He told the assembled cardinals that he believed he could rely on each and every one of you to walk with me. And then this as the Catholic Church continues that mission of faith that particularly has spread through the global south during the reign of Pope Francis. He then continues in Italian, saying that his election, or he hoped his election, could help the church bring light to the dark nights of this world. He said, in a particular way, God has called me by your election to succeed the Prince of the Apostles and has entrusted this treasure to me so that with his help, I may be its faithful administrator for the sake of the entire mystical body of the church. He also called on the church to do more work where there's a lack of faith, in places where he said technology, money, success, power, or pleasure are preferred. So very strong messages there from Pope Leo XIV in his first Mass at the Sistine Chapel.
So tell us a little about the significance of the person of our Pope's name, Leo, and his personality.
Well, yes, each Pope gets to choose their own name. This is something they've been doing for hundreds of years. And Leo, as a choice, is one of the most popular papal names. And so there was a Leo the 13th. And this was someone who was remembered as being dedicated to social issues and social justice. And this is something that it appears that Pope Leo XIV is dedicated to as well. There have been many popes over the years that have used his name. Pope Leo I was also known as Saint Leo the Great. He was a pontiff between 440 and 461 AD. He was the 45th pope in history and known for his commitment to peace. So it seems that Leo's through the years and down the line have been about their commitment to peace, about workers' rights and social justice. And perhaps this is a reason why Pope Leo XIV decided to take on that name.
All right. So what are the challenges that the Pope faces now going forward?
The Catholic Church absolutely at the moment is at a crossroads, and it faces many, many challenges, one of which is finance. The Catholic Church faces a huge financial crisis. A budget deficit has meant that the pension fund has a shortfall of 2 billion euros. That's something that he's going to have to get across pretty quickly to be able to sort out the finances of the church. Pope Francis did more than any other pontiff to promote women in the Vatican. 2 years ago, he allowed women to vote in a significant way in the meeting of bishops. It was clear that Pope Francis wanted women to have more opportunities. Now, his successor will be tasked with taking that agenda forward and ratifying more things into Vatican law so women can play a more active part in the Catholic Church. There's also inclusion, which is going to be a huge issue. Pope Francis famously said, "Who am I to judge?" When he was asked about the LGBTQ+ community in 2013. Pope Francis wanted the church to be more open. It remains to be seen if Pope Leo XIV will take this mantle forward. And of course, there is the issue of sexual abuse within the Catholic Church. Pope Francis was credited with going further than any other pontiff before him, with trying to hold people to account. He gathered bishops together for a conference in 2019, but didn't go far enough, people felt, in forcing the disclosure of information gathered in relation to that child sexual abuse. So many people will feel that Pope Leo XIV has a mantle and has a platform, and now should be the person to take that even more forward and to clamp down even harder on sexual abuse within the Catholic Church.
Very detailed. Thank you so much, Ife Hagen, for sharing this with us. We'll tell you that the United Arab Emirates has committed to investing in the $25 billion Nigeria-Morocco gas pipeline project, also known as the African Atlantic Gas Pipeline. The ambitious initiative will link Nigeria's gas network to the southern Moroccan city of Dakar, eventually extending northward into Europe. Morocco's Minister of Energy Transition, Leila Ben Ali, confirmed the UAE's involvement alongside other key financiers, including the Islamic Development Bank, the OPEC Fund, and the European Investment Bank. The project, which has completed both feasibility and engineering studies, will traverse 15 African countries, fostering regional trade, economic development, and improved access to electricity. Talk sports now. Team Nigeria has officially withdrawn from the 2025 World Relays in Guangzhou, China, due to visa delays caused by Chinese authorities. Despite submitting applications in April 25 in Washington, D.C., Berlin, and Abuja, Nigerian athletes faced prolonged processing times and unclear documentation requirements. According to reports, visas were eventually issued on May 8, the same day the team was scheduled to arrive in China, making travel and participation unfeasible. Confusion around a verification letter of invitation and inconsistent communication from the local organizing committee contributed to the delays. Some U.S.-based athletes even had their passports returned without visas. The Athletics Federation of Nigeria described the situation as a major administrative failure that deprived the country's athletes of the critical international competition opportunity. Meanwhile, Nigeria's under-17 women's football team, the Flamingos, will participate in the 2024 National Sports Festival in Abeokuta as part of the newly introduced Invited Junior Athletes Group created by the National Sports Commission. The IJA initiative serves as a platform to groom top youth talents across various sports, effectively acting as the 38 team at the festival. Over 100 athletes have been selected to compete in 11 disciplines, including football, athletics, table tennis, and swimming. The Flamingos, fresh off World Cup qualification, will represent the IJA in women's football. Their inclusion is aimed at exposing promising talents to high-level competition, aligning with the NSC's broader vision of developing elite athletes for national and international success. And that's all at this hour, but before we go, let's take a look at some of our top stories again. Nigeria's military high command has blamed foreign herders for attacks on communities. Court has adjourned trial of former Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello to June 26. We also told you that Leo XIV has presided over First Mass, the Pope, as world leaders welcome first U.S. Catholic leader. To send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen. And don't forget to follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. Watch us live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV, channel 23, StarTimes, channel 274, Argo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Lekon Onobanjo.